Hi, everyone, and welcome to the latest monologue, which today is about identity. It's an extension of a monologue I did some time back. Those who follow this channel will be aware some time back I did a monologue on self awareness in Kenya and our lack of it. I've given a lot more thought to the subject since then, and I realized that probably that monologue was not deep enough into that topic because I realized that there's a lot about identity and picking from my personal experiences, last couple of weeks ago, someone wrote to me, a conservation scholar from Australia, wrote to me that they're doing a session on indigenous land rights in this international conservation conference, which piqued my interest. First of all, Australians discussing indigenous land rights in Australia, probably one of our more notorious settler colonies around the world. It was interesting. So he wanted his reason for contacting me is that someone gave him my contact as someone well steeped in the subject, and in their discussions there, they lacked any input or expertise from Africa. So he wanted me to participate in their development of a position paper on the same. Um, Quickly follow that. Yeah, we hadn't planned this. We don't have any funding to either bring you to the conference or register you in the conference or pay you for your input on this position paper. And as I'm wont to do, I've spoken enough about this professional exploitation in our field, and I just said no. I told him, I basically said that his approach to me is an indication of how little importance they give the issue or they give to African expertise, and no, I won't be able to participate. He was surprised, maybe a bit offended by my response, but that's what it is. And that incident made me think. I thought later about my response, and I realized just how important to me it is psychologically, and I think to anyone else, to be able to say no. And it doesn't matter whether we are talking professional issues, whether we are talking about personal issues, what you drink, what you eat or don't eat, where you go or don't go, what you do or don't do, what you'll accept or won't accept, whether from friends, family, colleagues, spouses, etc., etc. I want to go further into the personal because I'm not a counselor, but saying no. Why is saying no so important? Because it's part of your identity. A key part of anyone's identity is what you do and what you will not do or what you will not accept. How many of us have developed any identity where someone can be talking about you somewhere and they say, let's go ask Mordecai to do this and this, and someone can say, no, Mordecai won't agree. Just forget it. Mordecai will not agree to that. Or someone say, don't bother asking him. He won't agree to that. He will say this and this and this. Talking about Kenya, precious few of us have any identity as far as this is concerned. And I'm talking about my incident was a professional one, and obviously it's because I've reached certain levels in my profession. But let's not put it at professional levels alone. Let's talk personal levels. How many of our young people will say, I will not go to such kind of places, or I will not stay there. I will not stay there for 2 days, or I will not stay there until morning. I'll leave at 2. Um, maybe even if you're talking about what they drink or eat, I won't drink this type of alcohol, or I won't eat this kind of food, or I will not take drugs. I will not take shisha, or I will not take this, that, the other. We don't have that in our society, and this trouble moves from teenage. When people are developing, they don't develop an identity. They end up being adults without identity. Um, you have doctors or engineers or any other profession who don't have boundaries as to what they want to do. We have professional ethics being breached in every field in Kenya. We have conservationists developing plans for sport hunting our wildlife. We have doctors selling organs, kidneys. We have engineers building buildings that collapse. We have lawyers facilitating fraud. You have bankers and bank managers facilitating money laundering. You have police facilitating crime. You have leaders of our sovereign state facilitating compromises of our standing as a nation. It's right across the board. And it's because we haven't built any identity, either whether individually. So, and and when I look at my personal experience, I've noticed that people who haven't developed identities of their own have trouble recognizing identities even of others. I've had several um, requests by younger conservationists who are mentoring to either give them references for job applications or applications for graduate studies, etc. And I once, when I get those mentees of mine, when they request this, I always say yes. So I tell them, okay, send me the details of whatever it is you're applying for. And I once got taken aback when someone sent me details of an application for a job which he needed a reference from me, and the job was to manage a carbon credit project. And I was taken aback. I realized that after knowing me for maybe nearly a decade, this is someone who still didn't recognize my identity. Imagine someone applying for a carbon credits job with me as a reference, and the employer Googles this reference. Who is this guy who's given him a reference? You won't get the job. So it's a matter of knowing, understanding yourself, your identity, understanding the identities of those around you, and on that's what you base your interactions or your endeavors on. But if we look around our nation, there is the identity is there money? Is it paid? There's a meeting on this and this. Is there per diem? Is it paid? Someone wants me to do that, this and this. Is he giving money? Or someone does something that's extremely unethical in some way or another. And when you talk about it, people ask, was he paid for that? Or you talk about something that's unethical and someone asks, you don't even have money. Why are you criticizing that? We don't have any identity, any standards. And it manifests in so many ways around our society as you look at it. Um, I was told an amusing story a short while ago that in one of our international universities here, there was a day. This one of these universities, they have students from all over the place, all over the world, sorry. And they had a day for sort of cultural day. So people come in some cultural costume from your country, not necessarily your ethnicity, from your country. And there was all these colorful costumes from Ethiopia, Burundi, wherever, some from Europe, outside Africa, etc. The Kenyan students came dressed in the Shujaa rugby team jerseys, our rugby sevens team jerseys. They had no idea what could you wear, and you can't blame them. Comical as that is, what would we expect them to wear? You see the embarrassing mishmashes we come up with when we have like Olympic teams going to international competitions. We have these embarrassing mishmashes. The Paris Olympics, um, they had some dreadful, in my opinion, mishmash costumes that didn't mean anything. But the brief given to in the design competition was design a costume that says magical Kenya on the Seine, as in the River Seine in Paris. And that's bizarre. What is that? What is that when you think about it? Um, a short while ago in the conservation field, we had a group of people wanted to start shooting wildlife for consumptive use, and we had no identity. That's why Minister Balala quickly put together a team, as long as they paid per diem for the meetings, put together a team to look into doing it. Thankfully, it didn't succeed. But even now as we speak, there's a new draft wildlife bill, again drafted at meetings funded by the Nature Conservancy and these other international NGOs. And it's dreadful. It basically hands over the little remaining power in our wildlife sector to NGOs. I mean, you can see that even KWS, our state authority, has no identity. They're present and willing participants in all meetings that disempower them. They even take per diem payments from the people disempowering them. KWS doesn't exist as an authority in northern Kenya anymore, and huge parts of even southern Kenya and all that. It's wildlife been devolved to NGOs. And I was talking to a conservation official from one of these counties that have wildlife populations, and he was saying, like, we have a problem with this thing, and we need technical help to push back against this thing. And they expected they and that joke called the Council of Governors expected me to get in. They expect to approach me and get my technical input in there and not pay a penny for it. And they ironically, one of the most ironical things I heard from them is that you don't have a budget from this. Maybe what you can help us do is raise some funds from donors to look at it. So they wanted to raise funds to review this thing for their own welfare. And this is not an assignment that takes a lot of money. We are not talking things in millions. Um, they are looking to raise funds to do this assignment from the same people who funded the drafting of the bill that they are trying to oppose. They have no idea what their identity is, what their stake in this is, or who they are talking to, who they are engaging with on this thing. So this is something of almost a national crisis, because even recent conversations around carbon trade and these youths in Kajiado who sort of pushed back and said we don't want it. You see the comments. There's so many people saying that no, this is an investment plan. They just need to negotiate for better terms. Maybe this thing is beneficial to them. And that's why the only hope for our country really is the youth, because they have, and it's something that can't be taught. For some reason, our youth have an identity. There are parts of it we of our generation X may or may not like, but they have an identity. There's stuff they don't stand for. There's stuff they like. There's stuff they don't like, and they speak out in it. And sometimes we even berate them for speaking out. But whether without looking into the details of what they say or what they're speaking about, they have an identity. The generation X, I mean, born mid 60s to mid 70s in Kenya, have no identity. We have doctors who have no identity as doctors. We have scientists who have no identity as scientists. We have professors in our university who have no academic identity. You cannot find any theme that they follow. We have political science professors who give wrong political advice. We have architects who give wrong architectural advice. The list goes on and on. We have education professionals who have presided over the destruction of our education system, etc., etc. And some people, because Kenyans are quantitative thinkers, it's one of the areas in which we are a very foolish nation, actually, a society. They say, no, you cannot start saying no. Those are things people do when they have money. No. We have billionaires, you see them in government, and they say yes to anything. They'll do something for 50,000 shillings, and these are billionaires. You do a meeting, you do a 3-day workshop somewhere in a nice hotel in Kenya and pay 20,000 shillings per diem per day and invite ministers. They will come. These billionaires will come for that 20,000 shillings and they will say yes to whatever it is you're proposing. And this is sadly has been found as our weakness. And this is how foreign interests that don't really have our welfare as a nation at heart are ruling the roost in Kenya. It's so cheap. It doesn't even cost serious money. Book rooms in a nice hotel, pay per diem. They will come and they will agree. Even people as senior in government whose word leads policy, they will come and they will agree. So we must, as Kenyans, at every level, define ourselves. Our agricultural sector gets messed up because even farmers cannot define themselves. I'm a maize farmer. Then suddenly I look across across my fence and I see this neighbor is growing some weird flower which is thought to give some weight loss medicine for users in Europe or some funny thing like that. And suddenly I'm abandoning my maize. I've had neighbors here, maize farmers, who are suddenly excited because someone has come with a new project, and it's always something from outside the country. He's come and told them we need to start growing the popcorn type of maize. So abandon the maize that you are growing, the one that we eat and our animals eat and all that. Let's start growing the popcorn maize because it will sell for higher prices. He has no identity. Livestock producers are suddenly told you have to change, stop rearing these resilient breeds of livestock you've been rearing, start rearing weak exotic breeds. And disaster strikes, as we know, with climate change, droughts, everything, disaster strikes, they lose everything. It's because we don't have identity. We don't have it at personal level. There's no way. Kenya is a million miles away from having an identity as a nation because we don't even have identities as individuals. Look at our foreign policy. What does on the global stage, is there any logical position that Kenya supports this or Kenya doesn't support that? It's just day to day. Our foreign policy ranges from supporting human rights violations somewhere. The next day, they're running to another part of the world trying to get a convicted drug peddler freed from jail. And so, what's the other? When you go to another different time, they are busy trying to sell labor into Kenyans into harsh and mistreated labor markets in the Middle East. So, what is our position on anything? Firstly, and before we berate anyone in government or our state organs, let's first start forming identities as people, as individuals. What will you what do you teach your kids? This is what I believe, this is what I do. They see how you behave as the parent or what you don't do as the parent and pick up from that. That's the identity they pick up. And my experience as a parent is that children don't listen to what you say, they do what you do. And when you show them an example, you never have to tell him or her not to do this if they never see you doing it. They build their identity from yours. So it's something of a miracle that Generation Z have built an identity despite their parents having no identity. They've refused things like carbon credits despite the fact that their parents were already signing on to that thing. And that's what's promising for us as a nation. But we will struggle. We will struggle in every way, whether economically, socially, and intellectually, as individuals, or as institutions, or as societies, or as a nation, if we cannot form identities. And this is where it connects to self awareness. Um, Identity is the self. If you don't have an identity, you can't have self awareness. What will you claim to be aware of if you don't have an identity of yourself? So let's form these identities. Let's stand for something. Let's stop looking at what other people are doing. Look at the discussions online. Anyone talks about political realignments, and the question online, everyone is asking, like, who do you want? Who do you think we should support for MP or president or whatever? Political commentators always, I see them always being asked those questions, and I wonder what's wrong with these people. Why are you asking him who he will support? Why can't you decide for yourself who you will support? Why do we want someone to guide us on who to support? These people are out there, they are showing their identities or lack thereof. Look at them and decide for yourself who deserves or doesn't deserve your support. But we don't have anything, and you can even see whether trends in fashion, lifestyle, even cars and other things. Kenyans don't have identity. You see these trends, these waves come and go, these waves come and go. But look at whether our literature, or even our art, our music, we struggle. One thing Kenyans struggle for is identity. And somehow we have that thing cannot be found through contrived things like some years ago the government said have a competition to develop a national dress. That's rubbish. National dresses never developed through competition in any country where they exist. Identity forms organically. And organically means starting from the individual. For the sake of our society, our children, our nation, and ourselves as individuals, let's find identity. Let's stand for something. From the very basic things that we do in our own lives, let's stand for something. Let's think about that, and we'll come back to and revisit it later as we discuss other things. Thank you.